everyone, I'm Larissa Russell of Creative You, and I'm your host of the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Here's where we talk about the connection between creativity and healing by interviewing amazing creatives, spectacular healers, and inspiring people who have used creativity in their healing. What does it mean to be creative? What is creativity? You don't have to write a best-selling book or paint a masterpiece or even play in a rock band. Creativity is in everything that we do, in the ways we think, in the way we run a business. In our everyday lives, we are creative all the time. Let's talk about how we are creative and how creativity helps us heal mentally, physically, and emotionally, right now on the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm Larissa Russell of Creative You Healing, and welcome to the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Today, I have with me Heather Hoeps. Heather is a German-Canadian intuitive collage artist, creative healing guide, and SoulCollage facilitator with a background in art history and art therapy. She is the creator of the Inner Compass Oracle deck and the Inner Journey Tarot deck, which she conceived specifically for the creative self-exploration and healing work. Creative expression and personal development are tightly intertwined for her, and the focus of her work is to guide people to access their inner resources, their inner beauty, and strength through working with great variety of images and art materials intuitively and creatively. So welcome, Heather.
Hi, Larissa. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. Yeah, it's you're currently a part of our A Year in Color, so that's super exciting. And now I would love for you to share some of your story and the path that's brought you here.
Yes, actually, I'm really excited about the questions and this whole topic, art and healing, creativity and healing, because it has been a big part of my own personal journey. As you said already in the introduction, I have lived in several countries, and one of them was Spain. And while I was living in Spain, I first got in touch with the world of art and therapy, art and creativity. And that has been something that has kind of led me where I am today. So I took some art therapy classes, I studied it, but I was also working with an art therapist, going to group sessions. And I was fascinated by the discoveries of how art or my expressions were able to show something really deep inside, especially my emotions, in a language that I couldn't speak, in a language that that was a different, a new language that fascinated me and that opened up doors to myself. And I had a lot of healing to do at the time, so I really got into it. And I remember I started a sketchbook or like an art journal, and I was drawing and I was using the color red all the time. We were talking about this in the last interview. And I also remember, I still remember a lot of the paintings that I did, and that a lot of it, the process was painful, but at the same time also really contributed to my healing journey. And that inspired me in return, that really inspired me to study psychology, study Carl Jung's archetypes, and the art therapy methods that were developed around those ideas. And so that I can work with other people and share with them what I love and what I discovered, and to be a guide for others.
Mm-hmm. And, I think that's so, it's part of our journey, right? Like we go through something and then we realize how much that works for us. And so then we want to share that. So we want to learn and grow. And that's exactly what I did as well. So I just love that, that was part of your journey to, go through it yourself and then want to share it with others. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people, especially in the healing field, in the healing arts. It's like there's also this archetype of the wounded healer. You have to go through it yourself to be to have that deep compassion and to to be able to, also to show or be a witness that you came out on the other side. Now, no matter how damaged maybe, but and then it becomes like your calling. I really felt it was like that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So that feeds into my question of what is healing with creativity and what does that mean to you?
Yes, it means everything to me. I can still remember how it felt when I was making collages, which has always been my favorite method of expression, because I always thought, oh, I can't draw, I can't paint. Collage is something really easy that everybody can do and is not so intimidated by. And but I got bored just by doing techniques or learning techniques. I wanted something deeper. I knew from my own experience that the creative expression had so much more to offer, and it doesn't always have to be so deep. Of course, we can do creativity is an amazing tool for relaxation, for mindfulness, for just exploring and experimenting, experiencing this joy of color, for example. But it even has this capacity to have healing effects. I wouldn't say art heals, but I would say from my experience that it can have a transformative and healing effect that contributes to the healing journey. And so since I've discovered that combination, it's become what is most meaningful to me, and it's also become the thing that I want to make the center of my classes and my workshops, and in what I have to offer.
Yeah, I liked what you said there about, art doesn't heal, but it's part of that transformation. And I think that's a really important part. Like just looking at art or having art or even just creating art doesn't always heal you, but it will work you through things if you allow it, right? If you allow that healing aspect to come in and actually pay attention to it, you can do so much to help heal yourself.
Yes, and I have actually a nice example if we have time for that.
Sure, yeah.
So I was seeing an art therapist in Spain, and the method was that basically you would just sit there and you would then make all the choices yourself. What material you wanted to work with, what you were going to create, and so forth. And the therapist would just sit back and watch you, and by just watching you and your process of creating and all the stages and all the emotions you were going through were witnessed and then at the end discussed. I'm not so sure I agreed with this method at the time, but from that time I remember that I would very often paint a beautiful flower, and that flower was kind of me. So there was not a topic given. I just had to start. I just had to do anything, and a lot of the times it was a flower. And I intuitively felt that was kind of a self-portrait. And then at the end, I always added a black stain or like a black blob of like black ink or something. And then I would always burst out in tears. And it was like it happened over again and again and again. And like just what this black spot could do to me, because it symbolized so much, and I didn't want that there, but I didn't know how to remove it. It was tainting the flower, and it felt it was like something so powerful. It was just a bit of black paint, but it had such power in how it represented what I was feeling depressed about, and what I was feeling powerless about, what I was feeling like a victim about. And it was so dominating. And even though the flower was much bigger, I could only see and feel the stain. And I realized now there was something deep coming to the surface that just needed to be heard and to be seen. And it it did that through the black paint. And of course, I put the black paint there. So it was like acknowledging something, even though at the time I couldn't. I just wanted it gone. I just didn't want to look at it. And then later, when I studied art therapy, and of course, I also had more of, I was looking back from a distance after many years, I could see, I wish I would still have this painting, because I would now approach it with a feeling or an attitude of trying to acknowledge what was happening and the emotion that was being presented, and accepting and trying to integrate it creatively, because this is a wonderful, like the canvas is the place where we can study or where we can practice. That's what I meant to say, what we can do in life, or what we can try then later. We first do it symbolically on the paper or on the canvas. And I could, for example, try to integrate the stain by putting some color on it, or circling it with some color, or drawing some flowers growing out of it. So to give myself more the feeling of, it's a part of me that is not destructive, but it just wants to be integrated, wants to belong also, and not constantly be pushed away. And that's also why I became a SoulCollage facilitator, because that's also this expressive arts practice where you step into the image, you create a collage, and you step into the image and you ask. So I could ask the stain, for example, who are you and what do you need from me? And then it would be probably heart-wrenching what it had to tell me. And that's such a way to approach those things inside of us. And and so even years later, I feel I can benefit from it now much better.
Right. And that's a really important point, I think, is when we have to question what we're creating for it to be able to help us heal, right? Mm-hmm. If we just create, yes, that's relaxing and wonderful in its own right. But if you want to really dig in and heal, you have to question what you've created.
Yes, and you have to accept the black spot as much as the bright flower. Right. I mean, a lot of it for me is also about, this integration, this kind of, that's also what I loved about creating the major arcana. It starts with, starting the journey as a human being, and then at the end, there is like a completion, everything comes full circle. And so this journey we also go through, and we have to accept all the pain that happens and the losses, and then also celebrate the joy and the wonder.
Absolutely. So with all of that and what you've gotten out of it, you work with clients now. And so what inspires you in that work that you do?
I mean, since I was reading a lot and studying about Carl Jung's psychology, and he was a Swiss psychologist who first talked about the collective unconscious, and that its content are the archetypes. So I have a lot of interest in these mythological figures that you see, that come back in our own lives, as as in the way we behave or the events that we go through. And I love psychology and art. I studied art history first. I started very intellectually with the art history, and then it moved more and more deeper and deeper, the psychology and the spirituality. I'm really also fascinated by our connection to the universe and how we can explore our spiritual connection through creativity. I love people. They also inspire me, and it's particularly women I create my offerings for. And through my online workshops, I've been able to connect with so many women around the world, and yeah, I think it's a mix of what inspires me, but yeah, the art and the psychology and the spirituality and all the wonderful people.
Mm-hmm. Just when you were mentioning that about, people that you connect to around the world, and I have to say that is one of the, for myself, one of the joys of what I do is being able to connect with people around the world that I didn't have access to when I was doing in person. And I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely agree.
Yeah. So with the work that you're doing and all, creativity and healing and spirituality and all of that, what part would you say you're the proudest of? Or is it something else in your life that you're maybe very proud of?
Yeah, this is really a good question. And I've been around the block, so there's a lot of things I can, so many places I've lived and so many things I've done and so many things I've overcome. I would say I have always followed my dreams, also under very difficult circumstances, and I have fulfilled most of them, which seemed unattainable at one point. One of them was to live in foreign countries, speaking different languages, having friends around the world, and I really feel that I have become a citizen of the world. And then the other thing is just my inner strength, that I didn't become bitter with the things that I've been through, and I have grown more and more self-love, and I got to find my calling, and that is just something I'm so grateful for, that I feel I know what I'm here to do, what I have to give and share. And I quit the corporate world 3 years ago completely to just give all my attention to what I really believe in, and what I just must do. And so I think all of those things are coming together, but my inner strength, and through all the hardships and fighting for my dreams, I think that's what I'm most proud of.
Right. Yeah. When you said, being that citizen of the world, but also following your dreams. And I think so few people do that, follow their dreams. They dream, but then they don't actually follow through. And I think that's such an important part. And especially if travel, or really it doesn't matter what your dream is, I guess. But for me, travel is part of that. And I love to travel. So being a citizen of the world just really resonated with me. But I would encourage anyone listening to follow your dreams, whatever that is. It can be scary. It can be, it feels, like you can't do it, but you can. You absolutely can. So I love that is what you're proud of.
Yes, I think that's why we come with dreams. Every soul has their dream or dreams, and if we don't fulfill them, then we don't fulfill our life's purpose. I think I read something like that in Paulo Coelho's books. Mm-hmm. Who wrote The Alchemist. But I totally agree. It's and especially when you're young, you just you have all this energy to go for what you really dream about, and if you have a new dream, you can follow that, and you can also always start over again. But at the end of your life, you want to say, at least I tried. I tried, and there's at least a couple of dreams that I have fulfilled.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the work that you do, if you could change one aspect of our society through that work, what would that be?
I think that's a no-brainer for me. I would change the way art is taught at school, like creativity, stop the emphasis on the end result as the main objective, and working, creating something, knowing it will be judged and graded, instead of just treating creativity as something that's really free. It's free to express. And in a curriculum, you can still, you can still give a lot of room to experiment with materials, to also almost teach how to be in the flow. Let them, this is what children and teenagers need, the feeling of how to be in the flow, how to enjoy themselves during an activity, and being completely in the flow, and not looking at the phone and being constantly like distracted, or being really intimidated by looking at what the person next to them are doing, if that looks better, if they will get a better grade. And so all this judgment and comparison, and that really fuels the inner critic, and it makes people become perfectionists, and then later they have such inhibitions as adults to pick up a pencil or a crayon or a paintbrush.
Yeah, I often say, that in school art teachers have destroyed creativity, because that's exactly it. Being marked on, how you're creative inhibits everything you do as you grow, right? And so it's I'm absolutely with you on that.
Exactly. It's like saying there's only one way of creativity. Only this red is a nice red, or only that blue, or only that line looks good. And that's not true, because our world is full of diversity. and creativity, since, as we talked about, it has so many wonderful modalities for relaxation, for healing, for development, personal development. It's something that needs to be freed and cannot be like put in this cage and be restricted.
Yeah, absolutely. It shouldn't be restricted. And I want everyone to be open to just trying without that judgment that we have been taught, right? So yeah, I'm with you on that one. Absolutely. So imposter syndrome is one of those things that we all suffer from. There have been a few people who said they don't, but I'm not going to, I'm not judging, but I'm going to disagree. Have you struggled with imposter syndrome? I'm going to go with yes. And if so, how do you work through that?
The answer is yes, but only at the very beginning of my journey, because I then saw that others were not better than me, but just knew better how to present themselves. And they had more boldness, they had more confidence, whether that was real or fake. So I knew very quickly that the most important thing for me is to be authentic and to stay honest and true to myself. What is it that I want to stand for? What is it that my work is going to stand for? Am I being realistic in what I am offering, and so forth? So I keep learning and improving, and I also learn to accept that I'm not perfect. I mean, it still sometimes bugs me because I find things here and there, but it's not something that like gives me a bad mood or a headache, or, I think people can relate so much better to people who don't think they are perfect and they have it all together. So if you value authenticity and you're true to yourself, then it's good to be confident about your work.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point that you make, because it's that self-judgment that is imposter syndrome, right? And so when you can stop judging that, usually against somebody else, and just be like, I know this, and so we'll start with this, and just start doing those steps to work towards sharing or believing in yourself. It doesn't even have to be sharing, just believing in yourself enough. The imposter syndrome tends to disappear, right? I think we all go through it in the beginning, but yeah.
Yes, and I think a lot of it comes with experience and growing your confidence. And I remember I don't like myself on camera. I really don't like being filmed. On photos, it's okay if I can control it, but the film is a different thing. And when I did my first videos, posted them on YouTube, and I was so like, but then I see that other people see me completely different. So that's also something to always keep in mind, and that the content matters and not what I look like. And so I just learned to just plainly just get over it. I just get over it, you know. I don't let me stop myself. That's the important thing.
Right. And really that is the important thing, right? Is not letting it stop you. A similar issue when I first started my online business, and I hated the camera, I hated video. My brother's a model, right? And so I was always compared to him. And so I hated being on screen of any kind. And so I went through hypnotherapy to get through that, because I knew that it needed to be a part of my business and I wanted to grow my business in that way. So I took those steps to do that. Now it's like, whatever. Sometimes, I'm lucky if I brush my hair.
Yes.
I'm here.
Yes. Well, it's great that worked for you. And yes, those things can be crippling. Just the way we see ourselves, or how we learned that we are, that we are just not good enough. It can be. It's like a belief pattern, a belief system, and so it's not so easy to overcome. But actually doing it and getting yourself in front of the camera each time, it's with anything new that you're learning. At the beginning, it's all like a bit scary, and then after a while, it gets easier and easier and easier. And so, yeah, the motto is keep going and don't stop.
That's right. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Yeah. So, everybody has those quotes that, are their favorite. That is there one that you'd like to share, one that you maybe live by, or a motto you live by?
Well, I actually have 3, but they're all kind of the same. They go along the same line. The shortest is be the reason someone smiles. And so I think at the end of the day, there's also this beautiful saying by Maya Angelou, people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And this is the most important thing for me, not to, try to remember, like, maybe I did not create the world's most fantastic online course, but the way I catch up with people then in the live calls and how I treat them, how I make them feel, that's going to be my legacy. Not how important, not how great my course was, but how I showed up for my students or participants. And that's something I really strive for, to make that the quote or the motto that I live by.
Yeah, that's beautiful, because it's so true, right? The content, right, we'll take from that, but how you made them feel while they were doing that, it's a safe space. Encouraging, all of those things are so important. And great values. Great values.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, in a workshop, people come together, and at the end of the day, they will remember, or what will stick with them is how they felt, how the talks, the conversations they had, how everybody was being creative together in a community. This is what we all want. We want to feel we belong. We want to feel like we are safe. We want to feel validated. And at the end of the day, the activity is a nice, it seems to be the center of everything, but at the end, this is just the nice, beautiful byproduct of, of humans getting together, or even if you do it by yourself, just how you care for everyone personally.
Yeah, so true, so true. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here today. And is there anything else you'd like to add that maybe we haven't discussed?
Well, this was my first podcast interview, and I have to say I enjoy this so much. I could keep on talking and talking. So yeah, just thank you very much. And I really hope to be speaking to you again in the future.
Yes. Well, we will definitely, because you're part of our A Year in Color. So, you and I will definitely keep in touch, and hopefully more people listening will join in, knowing how accepting and lovely you are. So I really appreciate you being here. And we do have a free gift from you, an intuitive collage project. So we're going to put the link below so that people can get that. But again, I just want to thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks so much for having me, Larissa.
Yes. To our listeners, we'll see you again next time. And in the meantime, I wish for you amazingly creative days.
Are you a daily journaler? Do you want more creativity in your day? We have 2 great creativity journals to start your day with. One for people who already have a journaling practice, and one for people who are new to journaling. Both are an amazing way to start your day. Both make the perfect gift for a person in your life. Check out Have an Amazingly Creative Day and How Do I Have an Amazingly Creative Day? Both currently available on Amazon. Click the link below to purchase yours now.